Well, I've been coaching men now for over 20 years, kind of out of my own journey and helping them with some of the lessons I've kind of figured out as I've walked through what has been such a big struggle in my life. And let me just say, in the last few years, things have significantly changed in what I have seen guys struggle with. And now I am changing the advice that I'm giving to men. Today, I want to give you some new advice. I don't think it's going to be popular. I don't think many of you are going to be willing to take me up on it, unfortunately, to your own disadvantage, I would say. But I think the advice that I want to give is absolutely necessary. It's absolutely necessary if you are in the position that you have not yet reached 30 or 60 days porn free. And I am going to call this challenge the Porn Adjacent Challenge. I'm calling it in that nebulous way because I want to hide from you what I'm really going to ask you to do until we get in the middle of this podcast. So let's get this show started. Welcome aboard.
Ready?
When it comes to porn, are you stuck, spinning out, or slipping backwards in your life? If so, then welcome to the Finding Traction podcast, a show dedicated to those who are looking to gain recovery momentum away from porn and toward the life and relationships they have always hoped for. Now, here's your host, Vern
Well, let me just say again, I love to work with guys, and I think we've just hit 100 guys now on our new Circle Learning platform. You will notice in the show notes a way to sign up, and there you can get access to not only the podcast, but all sorts of free resources and worksheets. You can get more information about the Finding Traction course as well. You can watch lesson 1 for free. You can see the worksheets there. And referring to our Finding Traction course, we are starting, we're actually just getting started with a brand new course, a brand new group. We meet Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, which is 9 p.m. Eastern. And there's still room for a few more guys. So if you're interested, please shoot me an email as quickly as possible to bandofbrothers.care @gmail.com. So let's get back to this challenge that I have been calling the Porn Adjacent Challenge. Now, one of the things that we do in our course, and I think this is lesson number 4, is we call it Getting Started. And it's all about helping guys get out of the starting blocks. And I say to guys, you can't defeat what you don't define. And so we really make guys drill down into specifics. Let's get past vague generalities here. What activities violate your recovery? What do you really mean by a full recovery? We call that green. And what do you really mean by relapse activities? We call that red. You probably gathered there's a middle one we call amber. And so we say, if you're green, what does that mean? Does that mean you're, describe for me what that means. Are you doing your self-care activities? You're rocking it. Are you achieving sobriety or peace of mind? Or let's describe what green means to you. Let's describe the lifestyle, the living out your recovery in the fullest sense. We'll call that solid green. And then we say there's amber, halfway between red and green, where we say amber could be you're not following through on some of your active commitments, or you're feeling wobbly, or you're struggling with obsessive thoughts, or you're edging, you're doing double looks, you're just all of those things. There's all sorts of middle sort of activities. We call that amber. Okay, what specifically does that look like? You're giving yourself justification when you go to the gym or the beach. And is that amber for you? What is in terms of fantasy? Are you just kind of getting up in the morning, staying in bed another 15 minutes and just playing out fantasies in your mind? Let's talk about that. And then we work around red. Okay, traditionally red was I'm on that porn site. It involves maybe masturbation or orgasm. But, we really push back on that and say, okay, well, let's say, for example, you look at porn for an hour, but you don't actually, masturbate or to orgasm, or it's someplace where that's not appropriate. Is that okay for you? And most guys go, well, no, actually, that's not recovery for me. That doesn't leave me with a mindset of integrity. That's not the kind of person that I want to be. And so we really try to define those activities. We really say, what does that mean for you to be on the wagon or off the wagon? But here is the nub of a growing problem I have seen in the last 2 or 3 years. Increasingly, guys are saying to me, well, I didn't look at porn, but, and then what follows is a whole set of low-level engagement in arousal activities. I didn't look at porn, but, and then they'll describe a whole series of events. And the means or mechanism that they're referring to, and you probably guessed where we're going, is some version of social media. You see, the issue used to be really clear and relatively simple. Well, I was back on my go-to porn site. I'm off the wagon, I'm red. But now everything has changed. There's this whole middle activity where I deal with, and this is when people check in, I hear this over and over and over and over and over again. People go, well, I didn't look at porn, but I had a pretty good week, but it was yellow. Okay, well, what do you mean by it was yellow? Well, I was scrolling through some social media stuff and I saw some arousing videos. And of course you did. You're a guy. What does the template, what does the algorithm gonna feed you? It knows if you pause on a video. It knows, if you're male or female. It knows how old you are. It knows that you love that intermittent buzz of some provocative pose or girl. And so guys have developed all sorts of ways of partly deflecting this activity. Here's one I've heard recently, and it's really creative, but work with me here. So I've had some guys say to me, okay, here's how I'm going to get control over this. I'm going to go through, and every time I see an inappropriate video, I'm going to hit, don't show me that again. Oh, which of course it doesn't really kind of listen, but I'm going to keep doing that until, don't show me that again. Don't show me that again. Don't show me that again. And over time, what it does is I find myself, boy, I'm getting really worked up. I'm getting really aroused by don't show me again. And I would say that is a fool's errand. But hey, I wasn't really looking at porn. It wasn't technically porn, or I didn't masturbate, or whatever it was. And I am going to call that for what it is. It is porn adjacent behaviors. Why do I call it that? Is because we are using it in exactly the same way we use porn. We are having a relationship. We are interacting with it in the same way we interacted or had a relationship with porn. In fact, I've had men say to me, I actually find some of this social media stuff even more arousing because it actually leaves more to my imagination. Yeah, they've got clothes on, but that just enables me to fill in the blanks in my mind. But hey, I'm not looking at porn, right? And so I have this word picture sometimes. If you've ever been to a hospital, or maybe you've been one of those guys, you see, I don't know, when you first go to the hospital, you're always worried about decorum and how you look. But if you've been there too long, you get these people walking around, hospital wards, usually with an IV drip because some nurses told them you got to get up out of bed and start walking. So they're walking around with these IV drips with their butts sticking out, and they're just walking around with this slow drip. And that is exactly the way we are engaging with social media. We are walking around exposing ourselves, and we have this slow drip of these occasional social media hits. And it's just, I'm at a point now where I, in my own life and working with other guys, am saying, okay, you know what? This is standing in the way of the recovery that you say that you want for yourself. Back in an earlier episode, I gave this rule, the one rule to rule them on. The one rule to rule them all. And the rule was, and I forget if it was 30 or 60 days, you can go back and look, but let's just go with 60. Until you have turned the corner in your recovery, I want you to call somebody every day. Now, of course, that means you're going to have to really work on developing a support system. But I say to people, I want you to call somebody, to connect with somebody, to interact with somebody every day. I mean, that's the nice thing about our Finding Traction groups and other things is you already have an inbuilt mechanism to do that. And what you're doing is you're coming out of isolation. You're coming into community and you're saying, I'm going to check in with people every day to create a habit of connection. Because I know it's the isolation, it's the hiddenness, it's the secrecy that is, the problem. So I just say, until you hit 60 days, don't even ask me. Just, I'm going to do this until I'm going to connect with people. I'm going to check in with somebody every day until I hit 60 days. Then we'll talk. That is the one rule to rule them all. Well, I today am giving you another rule to rule them all. And I'm going to say this, until you hit 60 days recovery, I want you to remove all social media access from your life. All your porn adjacent behaviors. I want you to remove X and Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and RedNote and Lemonade and Blue Sky and yes, YouTube as well. And some I might not have even thought about. And what that does is that takes away all of those little things that you go to replace porn in your life. Now, that is what I'm calling, you could just call it my social media challenge. I'm challenging you to do that for 60 days. I'm challenging you to do that for even 30 days and say, when I remove all of my interaction with 60 days, what changes did that make to my life? Did I feel, was that a good change or not a good change? What did I end up doing in a positive way instead? How did I fill up those spare moments that I used to just do with social media? And I would just say it doesn't matter whether you keep it in your pants or not when you're looking at social media. If you're using those sites in exactly the same way you used to use the porn sites to get an arousal hit, then you're simply perpetuating, you're simply making the problem longer. We do this whole lesson, I think it's quarter 3 or quarter 4. We talk about ways to speed up your recovery and ways to slow down your recovery. And I say to guys, well, it's kind of funny because I'm not sure you can artificially speed up your recovery because it does take time to develop new habits. But I say to guys, I guarantee this, you can slow down your recovery. Your recovery can take years longer because you are simply unwilling to take some of the steps that keep you in your old addictive behaviors, your old addictive patterns. Now you say, well, what am I going to do if I don't have social media? Well, you're going to get a life. My wife bought me this USA Today jumbo book of crossword puzzles. My vocabulary has increased. You're going to find something to do that doesn't involve social media. You say, well, how am I going to do that? Well, obviously, this is where you're going to you might need some help. You might say, well, if I do that, I might end up playing that age-old app game. The app game that goes, struggle with an app, delete the app. Miss the app, put the app back on. Struggle with the app, delete the app. Miss the app, put the app back on. And it goes around and around and around. And I would say this is where some of the tools can help you. Whether it's Covenant Eyes, you can just remove complete access to Covenant Eyes. I occasionally have my family send me stuff from Instagram or Facebook or I don't know which, and I click on it. I can't open it. I say I can't open that stuff because my computer, my phone doesn't let me go there. It's on one of my Covenant Eyes sites that just doesn't work. The Freedom app can do the same thing. You can do that on screen time if you have an iPhone. All of this is to say, you know what? I challenge you to take, this porn adjacent challenge, the social media challenge, and see what difference it makes in your life. If you hit 60 days of, then let's talk again. And let's talk about what you can go back to, what's safe for you, what's not safe for you. All right, there we go. I know I'm not popular with some of you now, but it's just something that I've seen, and hopefully, that advice can be of real benefit to you for those of you who are willing to accept the challenge. All right, we'll see you next time.